Hello everyone. Today's poem is 缅怀 by 杜牧. 缅怀 to express the feelings of his dream, could be his dream, lifelong pursuit, or could be the feelings at the moment when he writing the poems. So this is a big category of the classic poems, and so 杜牧used this category name as his poet's name as well. So very clearly he's trying to express himself. He has a lot want to be expressed through this poem. This poem was written in the age of 40. So as we all know, 杜牧don't live a quite long life. He died at the age of 51. So when he writing this poem, actually, it's the very late time of his life. And we also know from his poem, he get a white beard at in his 30s, and not more than 40s, his hair gets to white. So that make the sense. He has so many things, or he has so many worries through his life, because his beard and hair get white at a very early age, and also he died at an early age. Actually, when we look at his lifelong stories, it's some of the conflict with his poor life, I should say. He grew up in a famous, prestigious family in the Tang dynasty. Even it was a bit declining in his time, because his big family has the prosperous in the Changan area for hundreds of years, and his grandfather was the premier minister of the Tang dynasty as well, the Weidu. So you should know it's the most prestigious family in the around the capital city Changan. So we also have another very famous poet from this prestigious families, which is Wei Yingwu. So we have introduced one of his poem, 滁州西涧. So basically, the 杜牧 was born in such a very prestigious family and very well educated, because per his poem, he said his old family house 就地开朱门. So the door is red door. So that means the family is a big, fat, prestigious, noble family. 长安城中央. So the old house was in the center of the capital city. So you can see, if for the current time, my home was in Beijing, in the center of Beijing. So you can imagine that. Or my home is in London, in the center of London. So you can imagine that's all the could be from the most prestigious families. And there are some of the decline of the family. It's in the same poem. 家中无一物，万卷书满堂. So in the big house in the center of the capital city, there's nothing. The house was empty, but 10,000s of books. So this also point out some of the most valuable things he inherited from his grandfather, from his father. 家集200编，上下持黄王. So all these 10,000 books among the books, 200 books was by my family's, actually it's by his grandfather, Du You, and it's about the history book. So his grandfather actually write a big book with 200 books about the history from the very beginning of the China till the time of the Tang dynasty. So this actually reflected the prestigious family, not only famous for the wealth it may be had, for the glory, the power, as well as by its knowledge or its talent in the literacy or whatever. So the big family has everything, but until Du Mu's time, the wealth was not much, but still they kept a lot. So Du Mu, when he was very young youth time, he studied very hard and he was a genius. That was recognized by the people in that time, and not to say the people afterwards till today. So he was a genius since he was born, and he passed the imperial exam in his early age. That's halfway because of his the help of his prestigious families. There's a big difference between Du Mu and other poets or scholars. Du Mu studied the art of war very, very carefully, and he was very proud of his knowledge on the wars, the strategy, how to make a battle, and how to lead the army. So, and he write a lot of articles on that part. That's because at the mid to late Tang time, the country is declining very quickly. The emperor is powerless, and the politics is split in several parties, and there's always political conflicts between the parties. What makes the worse, the eunuch who served the emperor is among one of the very important political powers, and also the generals in some of the provinces, they have the army, they have the wealth at their hands. They also is another big branch, very important political powers. So many political powers, they compete each other, they kill each other, and the emperor is just like he can do nothing. Some emperors even was killed by the eunuch because the emperor does not follow the eunuch's strategy. And for the normal people, they lead a very, very poor life, because in the youth time of Du Mu, he paid a visit surrounding the capital area, Changan. So the area is just adjacent the counties, just beside the capital. There's no much people there, and if there's people there, they lead such a poor life. Even the villagers, they cannot go out to meet Du Mu because they don't have enough clothes to cover their body, and especially the men is quite few. So most of the people in the most of the villagers are females. They don't have enough clothing to cover themselves. So they just stay in their house, closed door, to avoid the meeting with Dumu. And when Dumu went 1 or 200 Chinese miles, so roughly 1 kilometers away from the capital, it's still in the area surround the capital area, but it's a little bit far away. And what it astonished him is it used to be a very, very poor area because the land is poor and it's surrounded by the mountains. So for the Chinese, classic Chinese, the wealth is from the farmland. So if the land is very rich, very prosperous, this place would be a very rich place. So the areas surround the capital city is the most richest place. It should be because of land. That's the best land, best farmland through the country, through the Tang dynasty. And when Dumu traveled 1 kilometers northeast from the capital city, this place is a poor place because of the land is not good land. But what makes the Dumu very surprising is the people lead a fairly good life. And so he asked the villagers. The villagers said, with our hard work and there are no disasters of the weather, we still lead a so-so life. We can still to pay the tax. The tax is heavier day by day, so it's the tax very heavy tax, but they still can keep a so-so life. And what thing make their still can keep a so-so life? The biggest factor is the officers in the capital city. The way is too long for them to come to that county to rob the money or whatever, to take the things from the villagers. So that's the main reason to distinguish the people in the northeast counties far from the capital from the people that surrounded the capital areas. It's not by the land, it's by the distance from the officers. So you can see that's in the youth time. Dumu has saw such a lot of the bad things, bad political things. Everybody know the country is declining. So when his youth time, he started very hard. He want to do something to recover the Tang dynasty to the glorious, prosperous Tang period, because everybody know it, and definitely he saw a lot of the things left it from the prosperous Tang time. He know how the glorious, how magnificent that time is, that time was, and also through the literacies from the poem in that time, he can feel the strong, the richness, the prosperous of that time. He want to recover it. So that's the starting point and the mind when Dumu was in his youth time, and he have a chance. He passed the imperial exam in his early age, and he got a position as a starting point. And later on, he basically worked as a secretary, the key secretary for the local, for the mayor of the provinces or the large regions, a little bit more than the province today. And so those people are the most powerful people in the late Tang dynasty, because they have the money collected from the regions they ruled, and also they have the army. So actually, Dumu is serving the most powerful political figures after he got a position. And so in Yangzhou was one of that period, among one of period. He stayed in Yangzhou for 3 years. So this poem was writing about the Yangzhou. So Yangzhou is quite famous in Tang time and quite famous in the Tang poetry. We have saw Yangzhou or Guangling many times in the famous Tang poems. Basically, that's you can treat Yangzhou as today's Shanghai in China. So it's far away from the political powers, but it could be the most prosperous richness city, commercial city in the country. And so of course the entertainment is far more beyond the imagination of anywhere. Okay, we have so many background about Dumu. That's all for the sake to help to understand these very short and simple poems. The poem is really simple. Okay, let's have these simple poems. 遣怀，杜牧。落魄江湖载酒行，楚腰纤细掌中轻。十年一觉扬州梦，赢得青楼薄幸名。Very simple, straightforward. So 遣怀we have explained is one of the big category of the classic poems to express the feelings. Could be his lifelong pursuit or could be just the feelings for the time being. 落魄江湖载酒行. 落魄 so for the Chinese, Asian Chinese, 魂魄 is two things. 魂 is a spirit of a person that can leave from his body. So when the person died, the 魂 will leave the body and still exist. 魄 is also the spirit of a person, but it always stays with the body. So 落魄 means it's such a low spirit, and or the status of that person is in such a poor status, very sadly status. So 落魄 means he doesn't have a good life, and either in the physical world or in his spiritual world. 江湖载酒行. So 江湖 means the world, the vast world, but it more emphasizes on the world away from the government. So that's the root grass world. And 载酒行呢? 载酒. So he take the wines, wandering through the countries, through the 江湖. 江湖 is the countries. So that means from that image we can see that just imagine people is on some of the business, or he has some of the political pursuit. He's wandering or traveling through the country, through the world, but he always have wines with him. That means he has wines all the time. Can he do his business, or can he do something of the very important political tasks? Of course not. So that's not the right way. So with the first sentence, 7 characters, the poem actually extremely smartly expressed a lot of things. First thing first, travel is always another term to the lifelong journey. So it's always implication to the lifelong pursuit. Also, the career life, especially the career life in the Tang dynasty through the official careers, government careers, it's so-called, it has a special name, 羁旅. So the ending character is 旅, it's travel. 机 means it's extremely restricted. 机 is like the prisoner captured. So that means the travel is with a lot of restraints. So that's 机旅. So the travel here actually has two things: the lifelong pursuit, lifelong journey. The other is about the 10 years of the career life in the government, and also a real description of his real life. He's having the wines, drinking the wines all day long, all the time. So how this very decent, very formal things could be coexist with drinking wines? So that's the very conflicted life and feelings. And also the first two characters put it very clearly. It's with very low spirit. The status is very poor, and the sadness, and also the it's even he's in a very formal career life in the government. He described it as 江湖. That's the word for the root grassed people. That's not for the upper levels, for the officials' careers. So that also is some reflection of his mind. He don't take this career seriously, and thus he drinks wines all the time. So that's the extremely smart descriptions and sentences in such very short 7 characters. In some book, 落魄江湖载酒行, it was recorded as 落魄江南载酒行. Jiangnan refers to the downstream of the Yangtze River. So that's the area Dumu, the Yangzhou is, the Yangzhou city is. And also that's the place when Dumu write this poem. He's still in the big region of the Yangtze River, downstream of Yangtze River, Jiangnan. So it doesn't matter actually. It doesn't alter the meaning for these poems too much if we change these two words, 江湖 or 江南. It actually doesn't affect any meaning of this poem. The second sentence, 楚腰纤细掌中轻. So from the first sentence, he's traveling through the countries and have wines every day. The second sentence describes the other aspect of his traveling. 楚腰, the waist of the Chu country. So Chu country is one of a very big, famous country in the warrior states. And one of the king of the Chu country, he adores the wasp waist, the waist of very thin waist or slender waist. And the special favor of the king actually made a lot of girls, they want to get appreciation by the king, so they starve themselves to death. So it's just like today's young girl, they try to keep very slim. And in the roughly 2,500 years ago, the Chu girls, they have done that. So 楚腰纤细 means the very thin waist, the wasp waist of the Chu country is very thin, is very slender. 掌中轻 refers to another Asian story in the Han dynasty. So one of the emperor of the Han, he has a very, very adored girl. Her name was Zhao Feiyan. She was a very, very slim girl as well. So there was a story that she can dance on a person's palm. So dance at the palm. So that is to describe how slim that girl is and how swift she dances. So here it used a too old story or too old image to tell actually it is not having the wines all the days. He had the parties with the beautiful girls all the days. And also he pointed out very clearly the girls in Yangzhou city is famous for the slim. They are quite slim. The wasp waist, the thin waist. And let's go to the third one. 十年一觉扬州梦. So 觉 is not means it's a verb, means wake up. So this sleep, it takes 10 years. And after 10 years, the poet himself, Du Mu, waked up. And the dream, he was given the title Yangzhou Meng. So it also points out what is describing. It's all about the things happened in Yangzhou, but actually he stayed in Yangzhou for 3 years. So this sentence actually makes the meaning more heavily, as he started the dream, the sleep in Yangzhou city. Even when he left Yangzhou for 7 years, so that makes 3 years plus 7 years, makes total 10 years. He's still in that dream until he was writing this poem. He just waked up from that big, long dream of Yangzhou. What's the dream about? Drinking, parties with beautiful girls. That's the dream. Okay, let's see the last sentence. 赢得青楼薄幸名. 青楼 is a whore's house, but it's not the whore's house as we saw today. It's just sort of like the geisha in Japan. So basically, that's the girls, beautiful girls, trained to serve the officers, to serve the noble peoples with their dancing, singing, and some even can write poems so they can write poems toward each other. Of course, they will drink wines with all these men or officers, but basically they are serving them with their talent, like geisha in Japan. So I thought the geisha was a sort of the tradition from the Tang dynasty as well. And if the officers or the girls, they are fond of each other, they could be fell into some of the love affairs. And some officers, they buy beautiful girls from Qinglou, the whore's house. That's quite normal things. Let's say the famous poet Bai Juyi, he bought several beautiful girls, and in his very late time, he's too old, he even write poems to send the girls away, and the girls even don't want to. Even when he wants to send the girls away, the girl doesn't want to leave because there's love and feelings involvement. So basically, it's just about dancing, singing, drinkings, and some of them maybe fell into love or just make love, maybe. But that's not the focal point. So let's see the fourth sentence. 赢得青楼薄幸名. So he tries so hard to get something, but 薄幸名 means he's ruthless, he's heartless, he shows no love or feelings toward the beautiful girls in the Huer's house in Qinglou. So that raised big questions. Through the 10 years, so he spent all his energy, his time on the wines, on the beautiful girls. So he didn't write about if he loved wines or not. We don't know. He didn't mention it, but he had wines every day. And he goes to the party with the beautiful girls every day. But he don't love any of either of the girls. None at all. So what for? So it looks like a puzzle just from the surface of these very short and simple points. But if we look back to the life stories of Du Mu, it's quite obvious. The country was in a chaos, so he has a lot of political pursuit to contribute to the country, and he has learned very hard, very diligently, the skills or whatever to help to achieve his political goals. And he passed the imperial exam in very early stage. He got a position in his early stage. But after more than 10 years, I should say, because these 10 years he recorded in this poem is roughly between his 30 to 40s. So all those years passed, he did nothing. It looks like he did nothing, but actually he held a very important position in the very important political power. The local governors, who has the money, who has the army, is very, very important political powers in the late Tang time. But he can do nothing. So that means it's a chaos. The political is a chaos. Even he got very close, very near to the political powers. With his talent, with his capabilities, he can do nothing to change it. So he spent all his time on the wines, on the beautiful girls, but actually he has not a single thought on those things. He's still, his heart is still with the country. So that's a huge conflict, and that's a very, very huge sorrow and sadness. So with his life story and his lifelong pursuit, it's very obvious now. 十年一觉扬州梦. So the dream of Yangzhou is not drinking wines, parties. It's his political pursuit. And he worked very hard, could be, and he is very keen to his political goals. But after 10 years of work, 10 years of endeavor, and finally the dream broke, and poet Du Mu, he waked up. So that means his thought, his mindset has totally changed since he waked up, since he write this poem. So that's why Du Mu get a white beard in his youth time, around, I think maybe not more than 30, and then very quickly his hair get white. That's all the worries. And also I think the drinking wines and the night parties will contribute a lot as well. And that's why he died at an early stage, just past his 50. Okay, this poem become very, very popular for the latecomers, no matter the normal people or it's a poet in the late time, and a lot of the wordings became quoted again and again. Let's see, 落魄江湖, that's one of them. 载酒行 is one of them. 楚腰, it used to be something in the classic literacies, not very popular, but from this poem, it become a normal word. 楚腰纤细. So everybody know the waste of Chu country means to the wasp waste or the very thin waste. And Yangzhou梦has a very, very clear definition. That's the dream of similar as to Du Mu's. And 赢得青楼薄幸名, though that's not self-blame, that is sort of the self make joke on himself and express his feelings. So after expression of that feelings, he get released somewhat. The feelings get released somewhat. So here we can see the 缅怀 actually is a sort of the ramp up of the past 10 years. And I think more importantly, it's for Du Mu himself. He used this poem to release a lot of sadness and sorrow of his past life. Okay, let me give one of the most recent quotations by Lu Xun. So Lu Xun write classic poems as well. Even he was famous because of his modern Chinese writings. So in one of his classic poems, 漏船载酒泛中流. So in the surface, the boat it's a broken boat, 漏船载酒, so it carried the wines, and 泛中流, so it's on the middle of the big rivers. So just from the surface, it means it's in a very dangerous place. But from the quotation of Du Mu, the poem we just have, 载酒 has a different meaning. 载酒 means he's expressed the same feeling as Du Mu's. It's in such a chaos, and he worries so much. Anyhow, on the surface, you just saw this guy, this person is drinking wines all the time, or maybe play with the beautiful girls, have the parties all the time. He don't do anything significant or meaningful for the country, for himself. He did nothing. But just because of the poem of Du Mu, you know their heart is full of the political pursuit or the dreams he had since his youth time. Okay, let's finish this poem with the Qin the dialect of Qin, and Du Mu. The poem is not only it gets such a popular. It's not only because the thought the man said in his poem. It's hard to say half or half. Maybe the other half is because of his word and the soundings. He carefully chose the words to make his poem, when you're reading it, it's very crispy, pleasant. It's so distinguished that no other poet except Du Fu, okay, I should say except Du Fu, has this characters. Okay, let me do it in the Shaanxi dialect, 秦腔。欠怀兜母，落魄江湖载酒行。楚腰纤细掌中轻。十年一觉扬州梦，赢得青楼薄幸名。Okay, that's for today. 真名士，字风流。Enjoy. Bye bye.